Be careful with Clarice. It's not literature. It's witchcraft. Better than food, man. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent. Great to see you as always. Hope you're doing well. Get that coffee. My first morning in Texas, I woke up and it was here. I'm not responsible for this. Anyways, today I'm very excited to be talking about Agua Viva by Clarice Lispector. Clarice Lispector was a Brazilian author who's achieved kind of a mythical status. Her nationality is considered Brazilian, but she was actually born in Western Ukraine. She came from total poverty and then became known in Rio de Janeiro as a genius. She was also a fashion journalist and the wife of a diplomat living over in Washington, D.C. here in the States for almost all of the 50s. And she was the author of truly odd, disturbing, neurotic, and stunningly beautiful literature. I think she said she consciously decided to become a writer after reading Hermann Hesse's Steppenwolf. And she also wrote children's books, which is fascinating. I haven't read them yet, but I think that would be very interesting. I reviewed The Passion According to G.H., which is another famous title of hers, which came before this. But this was another title recommended to me from Fernando Flores over at Malvern Books. And it's a great selection over there. He's got great taste. I highly recommend you check it out if you're ever in town. This review took a long time. It's a strange thing trying to describe this book, Agua Viva. I think many people would have a difficult time with it, and I'm no exception. This seems to be an enormous world in which one could enter and stay in for many years. And I look forward to reading many more books by her. She apparently, all of her books, she wrote throughout her lifetime, right? So each book, the characters in each of her books sort of correspond to where she's at in her life. The characters mirror what's going on in her real life. So you sort of have this body of work, which is her entire life, basically. Benjamin Moser, who wrote the biography, said that, and he also said that there's no other author he knows of who's done that. So that's impressive and fascinating. These are my impressions, and I'm not sure if they're correct. I'm still working on it, I don't think I'll ever figure it out. It's not that kind of book. Agua Viva is so strange because it's kind of a monologue with a lucid tone. But what she's describing is something like madness, or an approach to her death. Its stark frankness and conviction are disturbing when juxtaposed with the things that she's describing. She gives you the impression that her artistic sensitivity is of a whole different caliber, of a strain or variety that is unknown to the vast majority of humans, as if she's an aberration or an evolution. It's as though she has one foot here in this world and another in an entirely different realm of existence. So from what I've said already, you can imagine the depth of this book, which is only 88 pages, including the introduction by Benjamin Moser, who wrote a biography of her called Why This World? And he also wrote he recently published a biography on Susan Sontag, which I'm looking forward to reading very much. But Benjamin Moser told a story about a friend of his who told another reader, somebody who was reading Lispector, be careful with Clarice. It's not literature. It's witchcraft. Such is the mysterious power of certain books. And I'm not certain you're going to find anything more powerful or mysterious than Clarice Lispector. Even having read other surrealist or experimental authors, it may prepare you in a way, but Lispector is really in her own category. At some moments, Agua Viva reads like philosophical, aphoristic declarations, at other times like a journal or diary. It's kind of like poetry. Kind of. But different. Everything about Clarice is different. It's a blend of poetry and prose. Something that Michelle Welbeck in a Q&A interview with the Louisiana Channel recently said was extremely difficult to do in the same book. I've never read something that managed to do this other than Guilty by Georges Bataille. And that book is just as strange, if not stranger than this one. It was a kind of journal he had during World War II. That's a real reduction as well because it's so difficult to describe. But that's the only book I can think of that comes close to this one. And it came earlier by a decade or more. I'm not sure if either of the authors were aware of one another. Maybe? Probably not. So with Agua Viva, at first you think it's a personal journal or diary, but then it bleeds off, transcends into something else, transforms into something else, something abstract and expressive, yet very specific and distinct. She's trying to communicate very specific feelings and experiences. It seems like it's a journey to try and understand herself through abstract poetic expression. There's definitely this religious quality to it. It's a religious quality. She's very much concerned with the visceral qualities of being this creature here and now that dies, that will end. Very much like I think she's pretty convinced that it stops when, the heart doesn't beat anymore. There's no sort of idealistic yearning or kind of religious hope. But there is this celebration, this really feverish, exuberant celebration of the instants right now that make up life. It's like the religion of life. The intensity of life as a creature that knows that life will end, that we will die. And witnessing all of these complex natural phenomena occurring in rapid motion in front of you, like sped up. You can see them and witness them and appreciate them, but it's a barrage of motion and activity, energy. It's so fast and intense, you don't understand what's happening in front of you. That's what this book is. A controlled explosion. It's as close to communicating the interior life as one can get, at least for me. It's complex and sensual. It's trying to break that wall between you and her. And what results is neither an understanding nor a misunderstanding. It's something else. It's like a blend between author and reader. A personal relationship with the goddess Lispector. That could probably be said for most authors on some level, the blending between author and reader. But it's particularly important with Agua Viva and Lispector because what she's communicating is so difficult to articulate and so personal and seemingly impossible to communicate in written form. It's almost closer to music than a novel. I don't quite understand what I mean by that, but it seems to make sense on a gut level. It registers in a similar way as music. There's a beautiful physicality to her prose, a rejection of anything that comes after life, and a feverish celebration of what we are and the moments in which we inhabit. Moser describes the book as a summoning. Agua Viva is in part an invocation of death. That part seems to be her confrontation with annihilation, not with the intention of defeating it, but maybe as an act of empowerment. Like Bataille, it's a confrontation with ourselves and our death. And now finally I'm going to read some because I've just been hyping this thing up and you're probably like, what the hell does this thing sound like? So, here we go. But the most important word in the language has but 2 letters. Is. I am at its core. I still am. I am at the living and soft center. Still. It sparkles and is elastic, like the gait of a glossy black panther that I saw and that walked softly, slowly and dangerously, but not caged, because I don't want that. As for the unforeseeable, the next phrase is unforeseeable to me. In the core where I am, in the core of the is, I ask no questions, because when it is, it is. I am only limited by my identity. I, elastic being, and separated from other bodies. In truth, I'm still not quite seeing properly the thread of what I'm writing you. I think I never shall, but I acknowledge the dark in which the 2 eyes of the soft panther shine. Darkness is my hothouse. Enchanted darkness. I'll keep talking to you and taking the risk of disconnection. I am subterraneously unreachable by my knowledge. I write to you because I don't understand myself. The strangeness takes me, so I open the black umbrella and throw myself into a feast of dancing where stars sparkle, furious nerve inside me and that contorts, until the early hours come and find me bloodless. The early hours are great and eat me. The gale calls me. I follow it and tear myself to pieces. If I don't enter the game that unfolds in life, I shall lose my own life in a suicide of my species. I protect with fire the game of my life. When the existence of me and the world can no longer be borne by reason, then I loose myself and follow a latent truth. Would I recognize the truth if it were proven? I am making myself. I make myself until I reach the pit. What a line. Again, it reminds me very much of some of Bataille's writing, such as Guilty, this violently expressive, wrenching attempt to communicate the impossible, the unknowable and incommunicable, the things we express which cannot be reduced to words, the parts of ourselves we have no language for. Yet. And that's why books like these are better than food. Said Georges Bataille, or he wrote, one or the other, "One day this living world will pullulate in my dead mouth." We are making ourselves. We make ourselves until we reach the pit. That goes for all of you, and I as well. Better than food. So you should read it. Fans of Kafka, Dostoevsky, Eve Babbitt's, Virginia Woolf, and yeah, like I've said over and over, Bataille. And now it's time for the Coffee Lottery. For those of you who are new, welcome. Thanks for watching. The Coffee Lottery is where I take all of the names of the patrons on Patreon who have donated $5 or more per video to the show. I place their names in this mason jar and I pull out a name for every review and send that person whose name I pull out a hard copy of the book that I'm reviewing, plus a bag of coffee roasted by yours truly. And the coffee is delicious. If you would like to get in on that, you could head over to patreon.com/books are better than food, or follow the link in the description below. And if you donate $1 or more to the show, then you get access to the patron-only reviews, plus the Better Than Friday newsletter that I've been putting out, where I just, every Friday, I put out 5 things that I'm interested in at any given time. Could be books, could be films, music, articles, all kinds of stuff. If you think we have similar tastes, it's probably going to be right up your alley. Thanks to all the patrons, new and long-lasting. I sincerely appreciate it. You're making this possible. Best of luck to everybody who has supported the show. Thanks a bunch. Here we go. Lindsay. Thank you so much for the support, Lindsay. I really appreciate it. You're going to receive Agua Viva by Clarice Lispector, plus some delicious coffee. Hope you enjoy. All right, well that's it. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and share this review with somebody you know who would enjoy this book. That would be awesome. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please hit me up on Instagram, DM me, and let me know which books you think are better than food. And please always remember, bring a book wherever you go. You never know when you'll have 5, 10, 15 minutes to read, and then you'll find yourself reading more books throughout the year. You'll be reading more and finishing more books and telling people about them, and they'll be reading them, and it'll be great. It'll be awesome. Thank you very much for watching. Muito obrigado to those of you in Brazil and Portugal. I love your authors. Take care of yourselves. Great to see you as always. Have a good night. I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.